Hello. Oh. You know very well that with many distractions in your life, it's difficult to keep your innocence. And I know that in your life, you have a social and personal determination as a man of integrity and a man of your word to make room for people that are going to need you, to kind of make space for those that might otherwise, not have anybody in their life. And, as several intergroup relations and attitudes that are concerned in the workplace as well as social life. Not a lot is there to help somebody walk on water with just courage and faith. And so men need to be there for one another. A lot of men that are investigating the gay culture kind of translate it as a free society, and that indeed it is, whereby there's this creek that goes very deep with pebbles and rocks and a lot of horseplay, of hazards to the relationship that maybe is back at home, and that would be a relationship with a spouse, in this case a woman. And a lot of men, as they're examining what the gay culture is and tasting the type of sexual liberation being offered through a gay community, break a lot of rules. A lot is involved by men standing by one another's side if they can act like whores to one another. And there is this embedded niche to do so among gay men or bi-curious men that are married with wives and have children. This claim to be a whore comes out of men saying, well, my wife taught me to be a whore. And they say that their wives like them for money. And so somehow it's okay to tire oneself out through mad pig sex, is what we call it. And there's no firing the devil. There's no voting out the devil in order to receive love and forgiveness for betraying the wife at home, because the wife is considered a whore. And so in the gay subculture, there is several things that I think you would want to be aligned to, as Satan is definitely crashing in on lives and ruining families and acting as a great intruder using male sexuality. Number one, that men are prone to be enslaved to lust for money, and that when they create money for themselves, their wife is pretty loyal. So searching for successful, rich gay men in the gay subculture is very satanic, because it's fueled off of this lust and this greed and this corrupt use of playing off of other men that are ignorant, but they have great bodies, and they're allowing themselves to be subjected to the sexual exploitation of other men that are very successful in the gay culture. Now, there's this sense of not really obeying God's love at all, because God's love is a love of a commitment. The next thing is that there's this disorderly activated mannerism of being a whore, men with men, in order to serve pleasures, out of lust, of course, but pleasures that are gaining power through the ruining of a decent life, a life that is not polluted in the course of this divorce and adultery, hidden slavery. Next thing that you have is you create a family network called a fictive kin. That is a kinship, and creating this family ties with other men that are being whores. And you're doing it in the name of group solidarity and male bonding, when really it's a deprivation of loyalties to being a family man. And you have a lot of gay men that are considered missionaries, and their goal is to pursue straight married men. So the families are actually being broken and being replaced for a fictive kin of men that have refused to persevere toward the moral preservation of family values. This whole thing about gay marriage and adopting children in the gay subculture is predicting a larger onslaught, onslaught of sluts, motivated to get rid of traditional family values and have straight men or bi-curious men that are married adopt these new types of family values. Now, you get a weakened national identity, not a lot of security for your children. This is at the disposal of kids. Now, if you're dealing with straight married men or bi-curious men or even gay men in the subculture, and you have all this activity, and they themselves didn't have fathers, they are numb to the damage they are creating to the given families that have been set up by a Godhead. See, God created the family for socialization, for culture, for language, for social justice education, not the streets. The streets is a symptom of something deeper that's gone very, very low into this creek of life, is what we call it. Next thing, and finally, is that people like to test other people, this case being men. Wives test the men go and out of their insecurity and anger enter relationships with gay men, and the gay men are testing the straight men or the bi-curious men, testing their wit, their mistakes, tearing down a bridge they've been creating around career and good family life. All that becomes very destroyed because of temptation and the onslaught of sluts being the pebbles, the rocks that we deal with in this creek of life. Now, Mark chapter 10, verses 2 through 12. I don't think I have much time to read you through the passages, but there's a big wedge that one creates through adultery and unfaithfulness, and that is a lot of unforgiveness and anger, and it's used by Satan, hardening more hearts against the purity of a female and a male love. And I want gay men to really be cautious not to give this opening door for this type of satanic activity that's ruining a lot of peace back at home and ruining kids' lives. We have to work on the heart and not allow Satan to paint a pretty picture. So Jesus says, but from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. He then goes on to explain, Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if a woman divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery. Now, when you have gay men that are hooking up with these straight men or these bicurious men, there is this latent understanding that the woman is a whore, and the woman is probably going to go out and find her own trick. There's this distorted and dehumanized depiction of what a woman is to live her life to become through the unfaithfulness of her and maybe the man. And so the gay man in the gay culture becomes hardened and definitely promoting debauchery and a lot of crime. These things and behaviors will prevent men from seeing the glory of God, entering heaven, and finding a pure relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. Gay men, encourage you to please be convicted about these issues. Thank you.